In this podcast episode, geologist Scott Tinker shares a pragmatic and data-driven perspective on global energy, climate change, and the environmental challenges facing humanity. The discussion covers realities around energy consumption patterns worldwide, myths about renewable energy, the interplay between energy, economy, and environment, and the future role of nuclear power and hydrogen. Scott also addresses the population dynamics, climate fears among younger generations, and the need for balanced, factually complete conversations supported by education and critical thinking. Scott challenges the common notion that renewable energy sources like solar and wind are truly renewable. He explains that while sunlight and wind themselves are abundant, the infrastructure required to harness them, solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries, depends on finite mined materials from the Earth. These collection systems have a limited lifespan of 15 to 20 years, after which they require replacement, raising major challenges about resource extraction and waste disposal. Scott highlights the concept of surface power density, referring to how much energy can be collected per square meter, emphasizing that solar and wind have very low energy density compared to fossil fuels or nuclear power. Additionally, their intermittency, nighttime for solar, calm days for wind, necessitates backup systems or massive battery storage, which remains expensive and energy inefficient. Due to these physical and economic constraints, renewables cannot fully replace dense energy sources on a global scale anytime soon. The podcast breaks down the world into three major segments: emerging economies, about 4 billion people, developing economies, around 3 billion, and the wealthy developed world, over 1 billion. Energy consumption is heavily skewed. Asia, especially China and growing India, dominates coal consumption and overall energy use. Despite claims in Western countries of reducing emissions, much of that is due to outsourcing industrial production to Asia, effectively exporting emissions while appearing green domestically. Globally, the percentage share of coal, oil, and gas is slowly declining, but in absolute terms, total consumption continues to rise as populations grow and developing countries industrialize. Economic growth remains tied to energy availability. Regions with economic stagnation often correspond to stringent energy policies that hurt industrial viability and cause population decline. Wealth enables investment in environmental protection, and poor regions suffer more environmental degradation due to lack of resources. Scott explains the historical progression of energy from wood and biomass to coal, oil, natural gas, and nuclear, ordered by increasing energy density. Current energy transitions show an increasing role for natural gas and nuclear, alongside renewables, but coal and oil consumption still grow in absolute terms. He stresses that energy systems are governed by physics and economics, not political desires alone. While diversifying energy sources is positive, dense, reliable, and affordable energy remains essential for lifting billions out of poverty and powering modern industry and infrastructure. Countries like India are on paths similar to where China was 3 decades ago, aiming to rapidly expand energy use and economic output, making global emission reductions particularly difficult. Scott acknowledges that the planet is warming, about 1–2 degrees Celsius over the last century, and that human emissions have contributed significantly to that warming. However, he encourages a nuanced understanding by differentiating overall warming from extreme weather event impacts. According to the latest IPCC reports, many feared increases in storms, droughts, or wildfires have not emerged with high confidence in the historical data. While warming trends continue, the severity and frequency of extreme climate disasters have not escalated uniformly, as often depicted by media narratives. He also notes that heat kills fewer people globally than cold, and that those able to control their environments are less vulnerable to climate impacts. The conversation recognizes the widespread fear and anxiety about climate change, particularly among younger generations, some of whom feel hopeless about the future. Scott shares examples of students convinced humanity faces extinction within decades, a phenomenon fueled by one-dimensional and sensationalist messaging. He emphasizes the importance of factually complete information to mitigate fears, highlighting that population growth is actually slowing globally due to declining fertility rates in most countries except parts of Africa. Projections indicate a global population peak around 9 billion within 50 years, followed by decline, a trajectory influenced by social, economic, and cultural factors rather than climate fear alone. Nuclear energy is discussed extensively as a key solution for reliable, dense, and low-emission power. Scott notes its safety record compared to other energy sources, the inherent improvements in new reactor designs, and the ongoing global renaissance led by countries like China, India, and the UAE. He clarifies misconceptions around nuclear accidents, radiation, and waste management, noting that nuclear waste is small in volume relative to the energy generated and is currently stored securely with ongoing research into safer long-term geological disposal. Fusion energy, long considered perpetually 30 years away, is progressing and holds promise for nearly limitless, inherently safe energy as it mimics the sun's process by fusing isotopes for heat generation. Hydrogen also holds potential as a versatile fuel and energy carrier, though current costs and production challenges limit its scale. Scott stresses the fundamental link between energy consumption, economic growth, and environmental protection. Wealth allows societies to afford environmental cleanup and climate adaptation measures. Poor regions, lacking sufficient energy, face degraded environments and limited adaptive capacity. Strategies that inhibit economic growth risk harming environmental outcomes rather than helping them. He highlights the need to lift developing regions into higher energy and economic brackets so they can invest in clean technologies and infrastructure, thus addressing global inequity alongside environmental goals. The discussion places current climate issues in a broader geological and historical context. Earth's climate has always fluctuated, notably through glacial-interglacial cycles caused by orbital variations, Milankovitch cycles. We currently live in an interglacial warm period that started about 18,000 years ago. Sea levels and climates have naturally shifted dramatically over millennia, and humanity's survival depends on continued adaptation. Scott underscores the inevitability of future changes, framing climate change as part of Earth's long-term cycles that require economic and social resilience rather than panic. To conclude, Scott highlights a crucial dimension often overlooked: education. He argues for fostering critical thinking, the ability to entertain and evaluate ideas without immediate acceptance, civil discourse, and factually complete conversations. As AI and advanced technologies increasingly influence energy and environmental sectors, maintaining human judgment is vital to discern truth from misinformation. Empowering citizens with better education and balanced narratives is essential for navigating the complex challenges of energy transitions and climate realities.